Hey Jess!
Hi TC.
Now what does your role as a production trainee entail?
So my role as a BBC production trainee mostly involves learning. So it involves learning how each of the different departments in the BBC kind of work, what they each do and how they kind of all fit together. And kind of while I'm specifically on the production placement, my kind of main roles are to kind of help with casting, to do some location scouting, and to also kind of just do some general research whenever that's necessary. So it might be kind of figuring out whether a particular episode of a programme is kind of safe to film or not, and that kind of thing.
Why did you decide to become involved in TV production?
Mostly because I just used to watch so much television growing up, far too much. And my mum in particular was really kind of interested in foreign and international television series, and I remember just kind of falling in love with the characters, falling in love with the acting, like how people would act, and the costumes and the location and the set design. And I just remember thinking it was such an ambitious and creative industry, and from a young age I just found myself kind of daydreaming about series that I wanted to make and characters that I wanted to kind of bring to life and stuff, and so that's kind of what sparked my interest in TV production.
When did you make a start on your career?
So I kind of really committed to making a start in, for a career in television about a year ago, in January 2019, while I was in my graduate job. That job was in PR, and I kind of, to be honest, had fallen into it because straight out of uni I'd applied to everything I could in terms of television, and just got absolutely nowhere. I just didn't even get replies, so I kind of, almost in a way, if I'm honest, kind of gave up and decided that I was going to try and do the PR thing. I wasn't even that good at it, so I kind of decided to do the typical kind of New Year thing of, okay, this is my year, I'm going to break into the industry, like, yeah, this is my time. And I applied to every job that I could find. I reached out to so many people. I went to every networking event. I helped out with short films and things like that. So that's kind of, so about a year ago, my graduate job at the age of about 24, that's when I kind of really decided that I was going to break in and I was going to do it.
So what would you say are top 3 skills that you need to work in TV production and content?
So my top 3 skills for working in television, number 1 would be resilience. I guess that is probably a skill, but it's also a trait and a characteristic. Obviously everyone knows TV is a really competitive landscape. You're going to get a lot of knockbacks no matter what stage of career you're at. So it's your job to kind of get back on the horse and keep going. And I think resilience is something that you're going to need to develop if you want to work in TV. Secondly would be kind of creativity. There's so many, the industry is constantly changing. There's new technology all the time. There's new competitors coming onto the scene all the time. And even as a junior, you'll kind of ask your opinion about how we can kind of keep the industry relevant and remain appropriate for audiences. And I think creativity comes into play there because you have to really think outside the box. And then the last one would be resourcefulness. Especially at early stage in your career, you're not often going to be given tasks that are always straightforward or simple to kind of sort out. And it's kind of your job to, think outside the box and find new ways of doing things to get things done. So I'd say resourcefulness is a massive one.
Who helped you?
I'd say my family have probably been the biggest help for me, and my biggest supporters. I think it's really important to find a support system wherever you can do so. For example, when I applied to the BBC production scheme, my mum helped me a lot with the kind of programme pitch that I had to make. I practiced with her and she gave me loads of suggestions and critique. But however, I've also come across 2 really cool institutions on my journey that have really helped. So one of those is Creative Access, which is a recruitment agency that's kind of dedicated to kind of getting BME talent into the industry and making it more representative. They're great. And then also the London Film Academy, where I worked for a few months, just kind of where I got to grips with filmmaking and I met some really cool people. So those are the 2 that I'd say have stood out for me on my journey so far. What's
been one of your best career highlights or achievements so far?
I'm not going to lie, my biggest achievement in my career so far has been getting onto the production scheme. It's a really competitive scheme, it's pretty well known in the industry, and I pretty much can't believe that I'm on it, to be honest. And it's really special to me as well because I applied to the scheme kind of twice before and I didn't even get past the first stage. So for me to now be here, being on the scheme and doing everything I'm doing is the old me would have been absolutely shocked and confused. But you know, I'm super happy now, and I'm really pleased that it worked out.
What's been one of your biggest career challenges to date, and what did you learn from this?
Probably one of the biggest challenges of my career so far was the time where I got a really kind of good job offer at the same time that I was selected for the scheme. That job was in PR. It, you know, offered long term. It offered, you know, a stable, good income. It offered me great career progression. It was a really forward-thinking and dynamic company, but it wasn't in TV. So at that point, I kind of had to decide and make a decision as to what I was going to do and what I was going to commit to for the foreseeable future career-wise. Was I going to go the PR route, you know, where my heart wasn't really in it, but it offered me everything else that I could need? Or was I going to go the TV route, which obviously everyone knows is traditionally people would say is probably a bit more risky. You know, it's difficult to get a job in TV even when you have experience, and obviously a lot of people have to freelance. So obviously I kind of always knew that what I was going to do, and I went for TV, and I'm really glad that I have done so. And you know, once you make the decision, you kind of just have to commit to it and just decide that this is for me, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to fail, I'm going to succeed. So and you have to say that to yourself. So that's where I'm at right now.
What's your ultimate career goal?
I'm kind of still deciding what that is, and I think that's okay at this stage of my career, but kind of deep down and kind of traditionally for me, it's always been kind of to be a director, so to be a TV director. I just love the idea of being in charge of kind of the creative aspects of a production and having a vision, and literally it being my job to realise that vision. So I'd say probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, television director.
What advice do you have for young women who aspire to get into TV?
So my advice for young women that want to work in TV production, it's kind of threefold. So number one is to not be intimidated and fully commit to your decision. You just don't want to be in a situation where you didn't go for something, you didn't try your best, you didn't try your hardest, and now you're kind of regretting not kind of going for it. And I think at all costs you need to just avoid that. You know, the industry needs you and wants your voice, and I think you should make that a mission of yours to you know, have your voice heard as a woman in television. You know, everyone knows that TV, it does have a bit of a diversity problem, including women, and I think it's part of our job as women to make our voices heard and, you know, get onto the scene as loudly as we can, really. And then thirdly, it's just to remember that you're kind of just as good as anyone else, and that sometimes, especially early on in your career, you have to kind of prove that by just going the extra mile. And not being afraid to go that extra mile.
Thanks for joining me in today's Career Corner, Jess. It's been great hearing from you. Take care.
Thanks for having me, TC. Bye.